My name is Joel Crandall. I'm the Vice President of Programs at Genesys Works here in the Twin Cities. I'm very excited to be joined by a number of panelists today who are going to really be the stars of this show. Three former Genesys Works participants who have different career journeys, different ways that they ended up coming to the technology space. And so want to give them a chance to be able to share. But I'll maybe give a quick commercial on Genesys Works at the front end, just so you understand a little bit of who you're going to be hearing from. So Genesys Works has been here in the Twin Cities for about 15 years. It's an opportunity for low-income high school students to go all the way from their senior year of high school with some interest through some internships, training, meaningful relationships, all the way to their first professional job. But my three guests today for this panel are Bai Chang. Bai was one of my students in my second class. And this is kind of like embarrassing teacher time where you like hear these reflections from what happened when you were a student. But Bai really impressed me as a young professional. She did her high school internship at Medtronic, and I'm sure she'll share about that. But I just remember other students struggling, and the way that Bai was so quick to jump in to be able to support them, to be, she was a technology support professional before she even got started. So she definitely showed that way back when. Our second panelist today is Devon Goodwin. Devon is high school and college intern for us. He did both his high school and college internships with us through Cargill. I'm sure he'll share more about that. But I so enjoy hearing Davon share his story, and also for the way that he's been able to be a support on the other end of his rainbow as a full-time professional supporting Genesys Works high school students who are already looking to grow their careers as well. Our third panelist today is Jennifer Lee. Jennifer is a newer young professional in terms of the profile of who we have in the Genesys Works program, and she'll share a little bit about her talent development experience, the ways that she's come to those things. And so our goal for today is to ask a couple of questions of our panelists. I have their very straightforward roads to success as mapped here. And I have three questions to be able to ask them. They'll introduce themselves, but want to know what sparked their interest, what road bumps they experienced along the way, and then what advice they would give to employers who are interested in attracting and retaining talent like them. And then you have your opportunity. So feel free, you can wait till the end, or you can hop in at any point now. I will moderate the chat to be able to make sure that we get questions to them at the end. But Bai, maybe we'll start with you. Bai, can you give us a little bit of information about yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing as well.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Joel. And found great memories, of Genesys Works, during that summer training. So thank you for mentioning that. So I'm a Genesys Works alumni, as Joel has mentioned. I'm a class 4. So I think that was back in like 2010 or something. But I grew up in St. Paul, attended Como Park for my first 3 years of high school, and then transferred to Columbia Heights. And it was the high school that was closest to Medtronic, the Medtronic location that I was going to be helping out with during my senior year. Therefore, it just made sense for me to attend there. And for my post-secondary schooling, I went to North Hennepin and then graduated at Metropolitan State University with my management information systems degree. So it's really cool because through Genesys Works, I'm so super thankful for that program. My sister, she started with attending that program, and she was actually the one who introduced me to it. She would dress professionally and leave school early, and those were like the things that intrigued me about it. And she earned money during high school, and so yeah, she told me about it, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll join. And that's when I joined. And she also interned at Medtronic, and it's just been a really great experience at Medtronic and learning from everyone there. Currently, I did become an employee with Medtronic, but I think after working there for some years, I decided that maybe it was a good transition for me to work at a different place. So I currently work at ICF as a senior business analyst over there. And yeah, it's been a great journey. I just started with the company, but yeah, that's a little bit about my background and where I'm currently at with my career.
Awesome. Bai, thank you for sharing that. Devon, I'll kick it to you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Devon Goodwin. Joel, thanks for the amazing introduction earlier. But like I said, my name is Devon Goodwin. I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, went to Highland Park Senior High. I did my Genesys Works internship at Cargill, actually. It was amazing because I was the first one to go out there to Cargill and set the tone. So I put my best foot forward, and it was an amazing internship. As I was there, I was doing IT support for their trade floor support team. So I was on a floor full of traders that were trading like power, petroleum, oil, and all that good stuff. And I was just doing PC support, which was amazing. But throughout my time there, it was amazing just because I was like able to connect with so many different people from all those various roles that sat on that floor. And being a high school student, I realized that you didn't have to necessarily go to school for whatever you want to be. So I was meeting people. I was like, hey, how'd you get to where you are now? And they'd be like, hey, I went to school for this, but I'm currently, doing a job in finance. I'm like, how the hell does that happen? But yeah, ended up going to college at Minnesota State University, Mankato. I originally wanted to go out of state, but things didn't work out. So I chose Mankato just because it wasn't too close from home. As I was at Mankato, I started out actually studying IT, sorry. But I started out with IT, which was very amazing. I got to my first programming class though after the prereqs, and I had a professor that was very challenging. He was the chair of IT, unfortunately, and I feel like he didn't give enough effort to the class. So I struggled throughout the class. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I ended up failing it, but towards the middle of the course, he was like, hey, 50% of you guys are failing. You guys are just going to take it again. Take it again. I look at this man. I was like, not me, and from there, I ended up switching my major. So I graduated with something called interdisciplinary studies. It's where you put 3 different areas together. So I did business management, communications, and then recreation, parks, and leisure services. And throughout all of that, I always wanted to find my way back to tech. So after the high school internship, I told you guys I did a really good job there. Genesys Works reached out when I was a senior in high school or in college, and they're like, hey, we got another internship at Cargill. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I'm finishing school, and it would be a good time to do an internship. Maybe it'll lead to a job after it. And unfortunately, it didn't lead to a job. So I was kind of in a standstill and didn't know where I wanted to go from there. So I'm filling out all these applications, Target, all these big companies, 3M, all this, getting declined various times. And I ended up applying for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which is crazy just because it was me stepping outside of my comfort zone. So Enterprise, it was more like a sales and service job, a little bit of marketing on the side. So I didn't have no experience in any of that, but I took the step to, learn it and get through it. And I ended up doing that for about a year. And I actually fell into depression just because the job was like draining. At the time, like minimum wage was only $10 an hour. And they had like the people that clean the cars when they came in and out. So they had us actually out here like dressed in a dress shirt, tie, all that stuff. And we're washing cars, and then we had to rent the car to the person after. So it was very cold, cold winters, hot summers. So that was pretty, I don't know, I just wasn't in the best mental state. So Genesys Works reached out again, actually. They were like, yo, Target just hired 3 contractors. It's actually Joel to be exact. Let me spotlight him. He's like, Target just hired 3 contractors and they turned them into team members. And I thought you'd be the next, best candidate. I was like, hell yeah, dropped everything I was doing and ended up, starting that internship at Target through Genesys Works, which is amazing. And 2 months in, I got an email from HR and they're like, preparing for your upcoming interview. And I'm like, what? Is this happening already? And I ended up getting hired on a team. It's called High Tech, and they are the help desk for all the Target employees as far as the HQ environment employees. And that was amazing just because I got to also, they kept bringing in like young professionals through Genesys Works. So I had the opportunity to manage the Genesys Works young professionals, which was amazing. And you guys will hear from Jennifer next. Actually, I was able to manage her for a bit. So thanks.
Oh, wait, Devon, I didn't know that you got a chance to manage Jennifer. So we'll have to hear more of that story. Jennifer, if you have any dirt, this is the time to share it. So Devon,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. So Jennifer, I'll kick things to you. Can you introduce yourself?
Yep. So hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Lee. I started my Genesys Works journey in 2018. I remember Joel coming up to me and telling me that I was going to start my high school internship early. And he said that I was going to start at Target. So that's where I met Davon. Davon was a great mentor to me during my high school internship. And then after my high school internship at Target, I met like a lot of people and made a lot of connections. And after that, I was given another opportunity at Hennepin County Attorney's Office as a help desk as well. And with that, I gained a lot more connections, and I wanted to continue at Hennepin County Attorney's Office, but I wanted to dive into more technical stuff with software. So Genesys Works reached out again and gave me another opportunity to work at Kindeva Drug Delivery as a reporting and analytics intern. So as of right now, I am currently a junior at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, majoring in business and marketing education with a focus in IT and also getting a certificate in human resource development. After graduation this May, I will be converting to full-time as a business intelligence reporting analyst. And yeah, I'm very grateful for Genesys Works because I wouldn't be where I am today without the opportunities that they were giving to like us as like low income backgrounds and people of color. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunities that they were giving all of us. And yeah, I just wouldn't be here today with all these opportunities without Genesys Works.
Jennifer, thanks for sharing that. And I it would be easy to maybe fast forward through all of the challenges to get to just the current state. Jennifer's post last week about being offered a full-time job when she graduated at Kindeva during her junior year was a highlight for me. And I think it's where I hope that the industry continues to go. If you have young, diverse talent, to be able to jump on it right away and be able to make offers sooner, to be able to make sure that you have that talent available to you in the future. But to be honest, I think Davon highlighted a lot of the persistence that is required just to be able to do the job. And it's what I've found in my history at Genesys Works is, unfortunately, that's a requirement that comes along with a lot of the academic requirements or work experience requirements too, because the path of our students has not at all been straightforward. So, but before we get to that, I'll mix up the order a little bit here. Davon, maybe I'll start with you. I'm curious about what sparked an interest in technology for you. Was it a conversation? Was it accidental? Was it an experience? We were just talking about how we can get middle school and high school students excited about technology before they enter the workforce, and just wondering what it was for you that sparked that interest.
Yeah, for sure, Joel. I would say what sparked my interest in technology earlier was video games, honestly. Started playing video games and then seeing how like things were increasing and growing as far as the technology within video games. And I got to middle school where it was a program, and I don't recall the name of the program exactly, but what they did was they helped us build a computer. So we built our own PC. We got to take it home after that. And I thought that was the most amazing thing, just because I could say I built the PC and it's mine, and I took it home, which was cool. And then after that, I got to high school, and I remember just like looking at the different classes, and it was a programming class to be exact. And I walked past the class because I was like trying to scope it out just to see, you know, what was going on in there. And it was only one person of color in there. It was one Black guy. And he was really my inspiration in joining tech, because I'm like, man, if he could do it, I could do it too. And that's where it came from. So those two things were very huge to me.
I love that there was like a hook early through video games, but then it was like seeing somebody culturally that represented who you could become. That was a big part of that journey as well. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what sparked tech interest for you.
Yeah, so growing up, my family, I wasn't really like familiar with like technology because my family comes from a low income background. So growing up, I never really like knew what technology was and how important it was. So what sparked my interest was definitely the opportunities that IT gave, such as the opportunity to learn something new every day and how technology is always advancing. And I think that's what kind of sparked my interest. And as I slowly started to learn more about technology and how much it benefits an organization, I started to also embrace that I am a woman in IT. And that's something that's really important to me. Being a woman in IT, I want to be that representation for women and that resource for other women that are interested in IT, and let them know that we can be great in this area that's male dominated. And I think that's something that I really want to represent and help other women embrace.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jennifer. It makes me think we're right now recruiting high school students to join the Genesys Works program. So these are students who are just wrapping up their junior year. And I would say recruiting is tough, especially when we drop that it's for technology. I think that for some students, that's an instant turn on. And for a lot of students, that's an instant turn off. I feel like we have to explain a lot of unexplaining what they think technology will be like and re-explaining what we hope that it'll be like for them. So Jennifer, thanks for sharing that. Bai, what was it for you? What sparked your interest in technology?
I think, so in middle school, I remember, I think it was Dell, they had rolled out a after school program, it's called, I think it was Dell Techno. I don't know if it still exists, but it was to help students, get a flavor, get a taste of how it is to actually work on computers. So like we were clicking through like Word documents and opening up the computers, similar to what we did during Genesys Works summer training. And I think that's when it really sparked my interest, like, oh, I could really actually do this. Fast forward a couple years later, I mean, the first day of summer training with Genesys Works, it was extremely intimidating for me because I mean, not like Davon, unlike Davon, actually, I didn't play video games growing up, and so I feel like guys, they are more prone to catching on because of some of these hobbies of theirs. So I just felt like it wasn't for me. So the first day of summer training, I didn't want to do it, but through encouragement from you, Joel, and my summer program coordinator at the time, Crystal Stackhouse, I continued through with the program till the very end, and look where I am now. So.
That's awesome. I think that one of the things that we see is like being able to broaden what technology means. One of the big focuses for our summer training program is on public speaking, which may seem really strange. Like, why would you focus a technology program on public speaking? And I think it's a couple things. One is being able to ask good questions is a really universal skill in technology. Staying curious, being willing to like listen to other people, being a great audience for listening is another big thing. But it's really scary to be the youngest person, to like culturally not look like a lot of people in the room, to like get over the butterflies of being willing to step in and ask an important question to clarify the work that you're being asked to do, to be able to kind of stand up in a place where everybody else is sitting down, very literally. And so that's part of why we focused on public speaking. And I would say that like, I didn't get a chance to see Jennifer in that environment for Bai and Devon, though. Like those are places where they started to shine and started to see that technology could be much broader than just what they were able to do behind a screen. So let's shift gears a little bit. Jennifer, I'll start with you, but wondering what some of the most significant road bumps have looked like for you. Again, going back to my chart of what success looks like, where everybody's expecting folks to like go to high school, know what they want to do, go to college, have success right away, go into exactly, even though we know our own personal journeys don't at all look like that, but I think that that can be the expectation. So can you share a little bit of what road bumps have looked like for you as you've pursued technology?
Yeah, so some setbacks that I've experienced along the way would definitely be the fear of coming in as a new intern and not knowing what to do at all. And especially going to a field where I had no knowledge in besides the training from Genesys Works, all the training. I still was going into a new position that I just didn't know what to do. And I think I was scared of being an intern and holding my team back and feeling like a burden, and just scared that like, oh, she's a new intern and she's just, the learning is going to take forever. And what if they didn't want to train me? But I was definitely lucky to learn from such great teams, and teams like from Target, like such as being mentored from Devon and all the other Target mentors that I've connected with excuse me, and at Hennepin County. And just now I'm still learning, and it's always going to be a learning process. So I think that's what this setback helped me learn, that like whenever I get into a new internship or what, everything is always going to be a learning process. And so with learning from like new people and such great teams, I was definitely empowered, which led me to be where I am today. And I think that's one of the biggest setbacks that I've experienced.
Yeah, being new is so tough for anybody, and then to have some of the other barriers that you talked about coming in makes that
Yeah.
even bigger. Bai, what about you? What do you feel like setbacks have looked like as you've pursued a career in technology?
Yeah, I just remember, my first contractor job, I was the only female. My manager was a female, but I was the only female and young desktop technician on the team, and I just remember feeling like really intimidated. And I don't know, I think it's more of a personality thing, but my supervisor, he gave me a big packet of what I'm supposed to do. And I would have questions regarding some of the stuff that we weren't doing on the job. But he would just say, oh, well, this is how we did it. So not to go into too much details, but I think it was like some of the worst days in my career. But with that being said, I feel like this actually pushed me to really just be strong, to continue to persevere through the challenge. And I found things to allow me to bring value to our little team on site, and so I think, yeah, so it was challenging, but I feel like kind of like Jennifer said, like it pushed you to be stronger at the end of it, and so I'm happy that I did go through that, so that it helped me to be stronger at the end of the day.
Thanks, Bai. Davon, what about you? What have road bumps looked like for you?
Yeah, I can say it started out at an early age, just because I honestly, to be upfront with everybody, I grew up without a father, so my mom was a single mother, and I never knew how to first start off with dressing, because I always like to look decent. But like I grew up and nobody really told me how to dress, and I got to the Genesys Works program, and like it's a pretty funny story. But I got to the Genesys Works program, and I remember like, them telling us what to wear, and I didn't necessarily have some of that stuff, so I went and bought some cheap polos, and I thought it was cool to wear a tie with like a polo. And I remember at the time, it was a guy named Lucas working for Genesys Works. He pulled me to the side. He's like, "Hey, come here." He was like, "Hey, the tie don't go with the polo, man. Like, just don't go right together." And from there, it was just kind of a lot, just because like I never had a father figure to tell me how to dress, to interact with people, or even get into like corporate America. So like that was a huge thing, just getting into corporate America, just because I had nobody in my family that ever got that route. So that was a lot of pressure put on me. And when I started my internship at Cargill, I didn't really know what I was doing, because I was surrounded by a whole bunch of people that didn't look like me, and they'd ask me questions, and I almost felt like it was an interview all the time. So it was like kind of hard learning. But then I, sat into it, let it sink in, and I started asking them more questions and got comfortable and learned a lot from there. So that was my huge roadblock in high school. And then if I talk about college, I mean, you guys heard me share earlier. I originally went to school for IT, and it wasn't it with my professor. It was his last, actually, I found out a couple of years ago, it was his last semester teaching that class, and he retired for that. So I feel like, honestly, he maybe just didn't give the, maximum effort he could during that class, and let people fail. And that was how it was. So those were two huge roadblocks. And then also finishing college, because knowing that I wanted to get in tech, I was like, man, how am I going to make this work? But having Genesys Works and leveraging them to come through for me and give me the opportunities have been really amazing.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'm going to go off of our normal script a little bit to ask a follow-up question to you all about this. When you think back to those low moments, when you think about, man, I was struggling like with my mental health at Enterprise, and just like trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. I'm in this college class, I'm failing. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I'm showing up on my first day of the job, if you're Jennifer, and feeling like, who's going to talk to me? Like, are people feeling like I'm holding them back? What was it that allowed you to persist? Like when you think about, was it a personal characteristic of yourself? Was it like something that you feel like you learned or latched onto, something you pulled from another part of your life that helped you to be successful? So Bai, maybe I'll start with you. And if you don't have anything, again, this is off the script, but I'm just wondering, like, what was it that you attribute some of your resilience to?
I think probably, some of the experiences that I gained through the training as well. I mean, it was during summer training, and during summer training, we had to sacrifice, like, I think part of our day to be there. And so we're missing out on some things. And then during high school, I mean, I know that getting off school early is cool, but I was at a new high school, and I didn't really have the opportunity to create friends or really join extracurricular activities after school. So I mean, just persevering through like the commitments that I've made, I feel like that really pushed me. Like, I've gone too far to give up now. I think that's kind of my mindset at the time when I was working on my first contractor job.
That's great. Jennifer, anything for you that you'd say like really helped to be able to fuel you through those low moments?
Yeah, actually adding on to Bai, I remember when I wasn't an intern at Genesys Works during my college, I want to say my freshman year or my sophomore year. And I just remember like not working and I was feeling like really low. And I was like, oh, and I was signing up for so many internships. And then Genesys Works reached out, and that's when I was like really just super grateful. And I knew that like I needed this. And like, because Genesys Works reached out, I need to do my best and continue to gain all these experiences during my college years and just take advantage of that. And I think that's what really pushed me because like what Bai said, I've come so far and like I need to take advantage of this and take advantage of these opportunities because I can't just sit back and do nothing. And I didn't want to go back to feeling like I wasn't doing anything to help support my growth. And so just understanding that doing this is what it's helping me for my future, and just gaining that expertise in IT is just helping me. And I see a lot of growth. And I think that's what really pushed me to continue and be happy and grateful at my internship.
That's great. Devon, anything for you that you would say helped you to fuel you through those really low moments?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing I'd say is my family. I was the oldest sibling, so I felt like I just had a lot of pressure on me from that because I had a younger brother and sister, and I just wanted to pave the way for them to, show them that they can do something different and also be amazing, I guess I'd say. Another thing I would say is also I was a high school athlete too, so it was a little different for me because I had, started playing football in high school, and by that age I was kind of late just because all the guys were playing, middle school and elementary school. So I realized I wasn't the best on the team. So I went with my passion and I was like, yo, let me, focus on this technology thing. And from there, I, kept going and driving with the technology. So that was it.
Yeah. I think maybe one quick anecdote I'll add here is that we see some of the structural barriers that really make it challenging for students to persist all the way through this process and end up in their first full-time professional job. And a couple of those things I'll say is we have about 80% of the students who start our summer training that are able to finish our summer training. And some of the challenges there are taking care of family or siblings, or like needing to make money right away, being able to like believe in yourself or have mentors around you that believe in you even when you show up and you don't feel like this is what you're cut out for. And so that's a challenge. During the internship itself, we probably have somewhere between 85 and 90% of the students who start the program who are able to finish. And some of the biggest challenges we see there are family challenges, pulling them in different directions where they need to do some of those things, balancing academics and being able to work. Our students work between 15 and 20 hours a week. So it is a significant job. And then just like short-term financial challenges that make it really difficult. And I guess one other one I'll add is like, I think an undercurrent in a lot of it is feeling different, feeling like you culturally don't fit in your organization. So a lot of what we hear publicly is, hey, I need to work on my grades. This is what I need to do. But an undercurrent in a lot of that is like, I still feel uncomfortable. This is really difficult for me. Of the students who finish our program, 91% enroll in college right away. That's really amazing that many students commit to doing either a 2-year or 4-year school right away. But from that group, we only see 55 to 60% of those students graduating within their first 6 years. And so that's another huge hurdle that we see. And again, like we've talked about today, college is not a requirement for everybody. And some of our, like Bai's a good example of like got her first professional job before she had a college degree and then was willing to continue to grind on the side to be able to bring that other piece along too, so she has more flexibility. But for those students who drop out, again, a lot of it is struggling academically. Devon mentioned like we used to recommend computer science as a career or as a educational path for a lot of our students, but we did see a ton of students really struggling, especially with entry-level computer science classes once they went to college. And so we had to go back and kind of temper our advice a little bit to make sure that that's really what we wanted to see. And even for students who do make it all the way to the end of their college journey in the first 6 years, we still see students struggling to be able to connect with employers, to be able to get interviews, to be able to kind of like make it out of the stack. Especially when some of the smaller universities in town don't always put a great emphasis on college internships. That's been a real structural barrier that we've seen as well as students try to get to the end of their journey. So those are some of the challenges that we see from students as they're navigating along the way. But I'll go to my final questions and then would love if you want to drop any questions you have in the chat, would love to be able to feed those to our panelists as well. But my final question is kind of changing our focus. As you think about employers who might be in the room and are thinking about, we're not doing a great job of attracting or retaining local diverse talent. What advice would you give to them? What would you say, like if you had a chance to sit down with HR professionals, hiring professionals, IT professionals in the field about how they could do a better job of honestly attracting and retaining you? What would it have taken to have a company do a better job of being able to do that? So Davon, maybe I'll start with you. What advice would you give to companies on that?
Yeah, I'd honestly just say take the chance. And it'll be worth it. And I say that just because the numbers are showing that a lot of people that are locally, they end up staying local for the most part. So most Minnesota people, they've been staying in Minnesota and just working for Target and tech. I've seen that throughout years. I didn't let you guys know, but I've been at Target for 3.5 years now, which has been very interesting to see just because I've seen a lot of people that, you know, they may have hired outside of tech and, you know, people come up here to Minnesota from like Atlanta or somewhere and then, you know, they think that they can deal with the cold and then they're like deuces after a year or two. So I think that's one of the hugest things is giving the locals the chance to, you know, try it and learn because it'll be worth it.
I love that, Devon. I grew up in Kansas and I definitely think a couple of times a winter about throwing up the deuces. So thanks for bringing that up. Bai, what about you? What advice would you give to employers as they're thinking about attracting and retaining you?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think investing in your employees, so providing and allowing relevant trainings for them, I think, and not pigeonholing them into, you know, a specific area that you want them to be in. And then also culture. I heard this one thing where it says, you know, you can invite someone to the party, but are you going to invite them to dance, you know, and to be a part of it? So we're not just trying to meet the quota of HR, you know, regarding like POC percentage, but we're actually creating a culture that is inclusive, that is, I don't know, welcoming to every single person, regardless of gender, socioeconomic, whatever it is, the background the person's coming from.
Bye. Jennifer, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bai. An advice that I would give to companies, definitely be patient with the students, definitely, and understand that everyone learns differently and just being patient with the students. And I've actually know a lot of organizations that are doing such a great job, and I've only heard a lot of great things. And I know a lot of many individuals that went through the process with great companies, and they're now loving what they do too. So yeah.
That's awesome. Davon, this again, like I don't see any questions in the chat yet, so I've got plenty, and I'll just keep feeding them out. But maybe I'll start with Davon and go back to Bai, because you both are really good examples of you came into a company to do something, and then you bet on yourself to get more training and go in a different direction. And so, Davon, would you share a little bit, like obviously what you did when you were supporting folks on the trading room floor at Cargill was a good trial by fire to start with, and you continued to build those skills, but then went in a different direction. Can you talk about your experience with that?
Yeah, I'd say, honestly, it was just the interest in technology. So going through college, and that was a huge struggle, just because I was in Mankato, and it's kind of, I don't like to talk about this too much, but like I took a tour of Mankato, and one thing that they did there, honestly, was they had their diversity office. They were struggling so much to keep, like, Black talent at the school itself. They would tell the people of color to sit in a certain section. So I went and toured, and I'm walking around, I'm like, yo, this isn't like Atlanta, like that I want to go to, but it's looking like an HBCU. All these people that look like me here, I'm comfortable. And then I ended up signing there. I was just like, sign me up. And I started, going to school there. And I remember the first semester in all my classes, I was still the only Black person in class. And I was just like, yo, what happened? And sticking out, I ended up spending 5 years down there, but I learned that they told the students that, to sit around that area, which was a little bit difficult for me, just because Mankato, it is predominantly white. So a lot of those folks, they're most of them are from small towns in Minnesota, and they only see what they see of Black people on TV. So a lot of these people thought that I was dangerous to them, or that I robbed them, and it was like a huge thing I had to overcome down there, just because I'm like, man, I'm fine. I'm a person. I'm trying to go to school like you guys. And it was crazy, just because I ended up working a job at Quick Trip gas station. And that's where once people came through and saw that I worked for Quick Trip, they were like, oh, this guy's cool. And that's when I like started sinking in and getting comfortable in the school. So it took me a couple of years, but that was that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Davon. We're getting close to the end of our time, but I just wanted to share a little bit too. Jennifer is earlier in her career, but Davon came originally to Target to be able to work in their high tech space, which is like think about it as like an Apple Genius bar. So it was like walk-up support, and then obviously COVID happened and that became more complicated. But Davon was able to grow from being a contractor to being a full-time employee to managing Genesys Work students that were working in that space, but then took a bet on himself to do some coding. And so like he's actually moved into a new role within Target to be able to do an engineering role. And I'm so excited about opportunities like that, where students find ways to be able to make connections at companies, and then there are internal opportunities to be able to do that. And I'm not going to share Bai's journey, but there's some similarities. I mean, she started doing more of a legal review process as part of technology early on, but continued to grow her skills. And again, a lot of it is due to their determination, not necessarily because companies had great setups to be able to get there, but because they bet on themselves and pushed in that direction. That's what they were able to do. So again, I am so grateful to Jennifer, to Davon, to Bai. It is such a gift for you to share pieces, especially of your personal story, that can help to be able to drive other people to think about assessing and bringing in talent differently, to think about being able to create welcoming environments, to engage new technologists, and hopefully to continue to promote you